In this video, we're going to be taking a look at writing an introduction to your compare and contrast essay. What you'll need to do is get out your writing journal and your practice companion book and turn to page 220. Now, what I want you to do is pause the video and I want you to write down what needs to be included in each paragraph. So you can see paragraph 1, you need to introduce the two things that will be compared and contrast, so your two topics. In paragraph 2, you're going to tell how the two things are the same by comparing them. Paragraphs 3 and 4 tell how the two things are different by contrasting them. And then finally in paragraph 5, you're going to summarize the main point and leave the reader with something to consider. So pause the video, write down what goes in each paragraph, and then you can continue on. Now what I want you to do is pause this video and I want you to read that first paragraph. That's where we're going to be focusing on today, of the two kinds of towns on page 220. And I want you to also answer these two questions in your writing journal. So what clue words in the topic sentence tell you that this will be a compare and contrast essay? And also, why did the author begin her essay by describing the arrival of the settlers? So now let's take a look at what makes it a strong introduction for a compare and contrast essay. So the introduction needs to establish what the purpose of the essay will be. It also makes the topic interesting and engaging for the reader, and it also uses vivid words and imagery to help draw the reader into the essay. So you can see within that first paragraph on page 220 that both your early European towns are described and also Native American towns are also described in that first paragraph. But you also see, or I should say you do not see anywhere in that first paragraph where it says, and my compare and contrast essay will be about two kinds of towns. There's nothing that needs to be in your introduction paragraph either that says, and my topic will be about cats and dogs, for example, or anything like that. You need to express the thoughts without telling the reader what you're going to be talking about. So you can see that final sentence there in the first paragraph. It says, in some ways the settlers' towns were similar to the Native Americans, but in other important ways they were very different. So this signifies to the reader that it's going to be a compare and contrast essay. So let's say I'm doing my topic on lacrosse then and now. So an example of an introduction paragraph could be this. It says, the player races down the field, lifts his racket, and hurls the ball into the goal. Score. This scene from a lacrosse game could have taken place yesterday. It also could have taken place in a Native American village hundreds of years ago. While some aspects of the game have changed over time, lacrosse today still shares many similarities with its earliest form. So that's showing that I'm going to start talking about some similarities and differences between lacrosse then and also now. Now, when you come to class today, what you're going to be doing is writing that first paragraph. So remember, you're going to need to make the topic interesting and engaging for the reader. You're going to need to use vivid words and imagery to draw the reader in. And also, you're going to need to clearly state the purpose of your essay. So once again, you'll want to have some type of ending sentence that says, while some aspects of the game have changed over time, lacrosse today still shares many similarities with its earliest form. You can also see on page 220 that final sentence of that first paragraph. In some ways, the settlers' towns were similar to the Native Americans, but in other important ways, they were very different. You can really plug any two topics into this. For example, in some ways, dogs were similar to cats, but in other important ways, they are very different. So any two topics you can really plug into that final sentence within page 220 on that first paragraph. So this concludes the video on the introduction to your compare and contrast essay. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.